So here's a situation where I'm working with a new online student who has a tendency to get steep into the downswing. The first thing that stands out to me really is about how his hinging pattern going back really affects the direction that the club moves near the top of the backswing and into the transition. And this plays into his problem of being steep on the way down. So what you're going to see here, if we skip ahead just a little bit, is that he's somebody who, number one, doesn't hinge the club very vertically with his wrists. The scientific term for that would be radial deviation, meaning he doesn't have a lot of vertical hinging. And so his shaft goes back not only to the inside, with obviously some element of forearm roll that is rolling this way, but the club goes back very flat and very inside. Now, when you're somebody who does not hinge the club very well early into the backswing, right, what's going to happen is you're going to have to stand this club up into the air later, which basically means, yes, the shaft is inside, but even more importantly than that, the butt end of this club points way outside the golf ball, right, for a large majority of his backswing. You can even see how the trail arm is tucked underneath the lead arm here due to the forearm rotation. And so because he's somebody who did not hinge it up really early, rather than just stopping halfway back with this like super flat dead-handed pattern that's probably not going to create a lot of speed, what you'll see from a lot of golfers is that they are going to manufacture the hinging later into the backswing. What that basically means is he's going to find a way to get this club up into the air in the second half of his backswing. Now, the way most golfers will do it is they will either hinge the club up through the wrist themselves, or they'll have some element of the trail elbow separating from the body, basically meaning internal shoulder rotation. And what that does is that helps the club go up in the air. Now, the problem is because he was so dead-handed early, meaning the wrists are not really functioning very efficiently, when he gets up to this point and he stands the club up, there's going to be a lot of momentum from the weight of the club head that's going to transpire in this direction. And so that weight, it almost makes it impossible to stop at the appropriate place. You just can't stop it when the momentum is taking over. And so that early poor hinge leading to the late hinging up carries the momentum of the club, and all of a sudden now you saw how the club went from a very laid off position, which was even further laid off earlier, and now it changes direction really aggressively near the top, meaning the club hinged and went up this way too much in the second half of his backswing because of the fact that he didn't get the club vertical early enough through an efficient hinging pattern. Now, the problem is that momentum is not going to just stop near the top. It's going to carry over into his transition. And so what you'll see is as he transitions down now into the downswing, the club retains a lot of that verticalness that he creates. Meaning now the shaft is super steep coming down. You see the butt end of the club pointing inside the golf ball for a long period of time into his downswing, right? And obviously from here, he's going to be very, very steep coming down, which is what you'll see. And then he's going to have to side bend and stall out to try to make it work. So upper body stays really close to the target, lead shoulder really high, trail shoulder really low. These are common themes of golfers who are finding some sort of a shallowing mechanism late in the downswing to make it work. What's important to remember here is that if we backtrack from the stalling out is being created from this. The steepness into the downswing is being created because of what transpired up near the top of the backswing. And the reason that this even happened up near the top of the backswing is because of what happened early. So he essentially doesn't use his wrists very efficiently early. There's forearm rotation that gets the shaft inside and flat. Combining that with a dead-handed motion where he's not hinging the wrist vertical enough, he's going to create the verticalness to the club late in the backswing. That's done by hinging the wrist really late and changing the direction that the forearms are moving near the top. That gets the club now getting up near the plane line at the top, but the problem is there's momentum with the weight of the club head, which then shoves it across the line, and that momentum carries over into the transition, which causes his shaft to get too steep. So in order for us to offset the steepness that he's creating into his downswing, we have to backtrack this and figure out and see that the way he's hinging the club early on, the way the forearms are moving early on, are playing into his problem big time.